Hello, YouTubers. I've been struggling with this setup all day, trying to get me in focus with my camera, and I can't get it perfect, so I just don't even care anymore, because me being perfectly crisp doesn't even matter at all in this video. So I've been doing research for this video for a while, and it put me into a deep depression, and I wrote an article like a week and a half ago about it all, and yeah, I'm gonna read that out to you, and then I have some more notes that I want to go over. Here, so let's just dive in, all right? We misunderstand or mislabel intelligence and its importance, in my opinion. We have deluded ourselves into thinking that there is a great chain of being, or a pyramid rather, in which we reside at the top. We get to decide what is and isn't sentient, and have concluded that our own thoughts and feelings are what matters the most. Everything else is less than. We think we are highly evolved creatures, but simplicity on the outside doesn't necessarily mean simplicity on the inside. It also doesn't mean that our supposed intellect gives us the right to spread like a virus and consume everything in our paths. Orcas and other dolphins have their own languages. Different pods have different dialects. Different pods prefer different food. Some animals have senses we can't even understand, such as sharks, which have an acute sensitivity to electrical currents, or insects, some of which can see ultraviolet lights. Cows and many other mammals mourn the loss of their young. Their lost loved ones will make them cry for days. How we contrive tests of intelligence may tell us more about the sensory abilities of animals than their intellectual abilities. The fact is, there is no science, and never will be, that will be able to put us into the mind of another and use their brain the way they do, to see the world the way that they do, and understand their true intellect. We wave away any science that tells us otherwise, like the recent viral video of the little fish using rocks to open clams to get the food. The fish knew using that tool would get him into the clam. Our response? Oh, well, he didn't make the tool, so he's not smart. It's not really that impressive because he didn't make the tool. While chimps make their own hammers, orangutans improvise whistles from bundles of leaves which they use to help ward off predators. Gorillas use sticks to check the depth of water they are about to cross. How is that not intelligence? Which really isn't my point anyways, because even if everything on Earth was mindless cog and a machine doing its job and keeping the balance, that doesn't give us the right to come in and destroy everything in the path, all in the name of money. Anyways, I'm getting distracted because animals and the ecosystems fascinate me, and I am astonished daily by the beauty I experience on this planet. I feel blessed to be allowed to live here and experience life and see how the ecosystem and its biodiversity have created this astonishing world that keeps us alive. Ultimately, I want to talk about our contribution to climate change and how disgusted I am with humans and their egos. I write a lot about politics, but at the end of the day, I don't really give a shit about them. Politicians are a collection of dumb, detached, rich people who don't really believe half the things that come out of their mouths. They have the world so divided, fighting each other about things that don't fucking matter. The only thing that matters is this planet. We care more about space than we do our own oceans, the thing that keeps us alive. Just because we have big brains doesn't mean we own the earth. A wise man once said, just because some of us can read and write and do a little math doesn't mean we deserve to conquer the universe. Why don't we assume that, until proven otherwise, others are subjective beings? Answer: because the only thing that matters is that we are number one. It makes it so much easier to rationalize exploiting everything, which we did. We have completely exploited this planet and the ecosystems on it. And for what? Not just a better quality of life, but for a vapid, materialistic, sickening world where the only thing that seems to matter anymore is clout, fame, fast fashion, and wild conspiracy theories. We could have had an amazing quality of life and still live in harmony with our local ecosystems. We could still have an amazing quality of life without billionaires and corporations that fuck everything in their path. Since 1990, it's estimated that 420 million hectares of forest have been lost through conversion to other land uses, although the rate of deforestation has decreased over the past 3 decades. Agricultural expansion continues to be the main driver of deforestation and forest degradation and the associated loss of forest biodiversity. It accounted for 40% of tropical deforestation between 2000 and 2010. Something that people don't seem to understand is it isn't just trees we are killing, it's forests, which are the homes of the Earth's most terrestrial biodiversity. They are the homes for fungi, bugs, birds, and mammals. They feed them, they home them, then the forests feed the rivers that run through them and the animals that live in them. Then those rivers feed the oceans, which is our lifeline. Right now, 25% of our rivers don't even reach oceans anymore because we've dammed them. I know my rants will change nothing, but I've reached the end of my patience with this shit. I'm so tired of people turning a blind eye, acting like they are making a difference by throwing their plastic bottles into the recycling bin. Now, of course, this is mostly on the corporations at the end of the day, and as individuals, we can't do much, but why wouldn't we try? Why did people freak out at the suggestion of using something other than plastic straws in their drinks? Why do they freak out when we take away plastic bags at the supermarkets when you can just bring your own? Why do people buy plastic bottled water when you can just buy a reusable water bottle? Because they are lazy, selfish fucks. So no, this really isn't all on the corporations. You have a choice every time you open your wallet, and if we all stop buying what they're selling, they'll be forced to change. I've been screaming at the top of my lungs at the world since I was a kid, flipping out at my parents because I didn't understand why we, the supposed intellectuals, designed the world the way we did. All I'm ever met with is a shrug, and that's just the way it is, even 20 years later. Maybe if people went outside instead of constantly staring at their TVs or phones and explored the world around them, they would see how incredible nature is. And maybe if more people spent more time outside exploring nature, they would actually notice for themselves the changes that are happening very quickly around us. They would notice that there aren't any Western monarch butterflies in their gardens anymore because they're nearing extinction. They would maybe care enough to sacrifice some of their perfectly manicured yards and plant some native plant species, wildflowers, and learn that monarchs like milkweed. We can't keep brushing this off and waiting for politicians and corporations to do the right thing. The free market doesn't give a fuck about the ecosystems they exploit to fatten their wallets. The barrier reef is vanishing, coral is bleaching, lemurs are almost extinct. We have islands of garbage floating around in our oceans. It's raining plastic. Pesticides and nutrients used in agriculture end up in coastal waters, resulting in oxygen depletion that kills marine plants and shellfish. Factories and industrial plants discharge sewage and other runoffs into the oceans. Topsoil is all but gone. I don't know what else to do or say except to maybe try to get people to fall in love with nature the way that I have. To show you how amazing it is and how it should be the one thing every single human is ready to fight for. People don't understand how interconnected everything is. Science makes new, astonishing discoveries every day. The way plants communicate with each other using pheromones, or how some fungi help trees and other plants to grow. Or other different symbiotic relationships between animals like the ravilli fish who hide from predators by swimming in the stingers of jellyfish, the clownfish and the anemone, the Nile crocodile who lets the Egyptian plover feed upon the decomposing meat stuck in between the teeth. Rats have even been proven to feel regret. Fact is, everything in every ecosystem on this planet lives, breathes, and works together. The only thing on this planet that takes exponentially but never gives anything back are humans. I don't think there's room for ego or arrogance on this planet. I find it hard to believe that we weren't brought here by aliens. It seems so obvious to me that we don't belong here. And if we truly did evolve here, then we were the biggest mistake that nature ever made. I don't know how anyone could not stand on the side of a lake or inside a forest or on top of a mountain and not feel completely awestruck, but by not only the beauty of everything around us, but our utter insignificance. Our lives are actually meaningless blips in a world, a universe that we just don't understand. I don't know when or how we decided that we were the only thing that matters, when in fact we have just as much significance as the birds and the bees. The only difference being everything else besides humans lives in harmony with its surroundings. So that was my article. I left out a little bit just in case you guys do want to read it, and there are links in the article. But I also wanted to talk about a couple more things. Things that you can do, like I mentioned. Get reusable straws. I have aluminum straws that are amazing. I have reusable grocery bags. They're amazing. There's no reason to have plastic bags. You can buy compostable garbage bags that are made out of plant matter. Reusable water bottles. There's just so many things that we can do. Instead of driving to the convenience store down the road, take the 15-minute walk. Carpool when you can, you know. Cruise ships. Let's just get rid of cruise ships. They're disgusting, okay? I'm serious when I say cruise ships should be banned. They're floating cities that create disturbing amounts of waste. They use dirty, cheap fuel, which of course pollutes with exhaust fumes. They dump their trash into the fucking ocean as well as fuel and sewage. A single cruise ship can emit as much as 700 trucks and as much particulate matter as 1 million cars. Just one cruise ship. And there's stupid vacations to go on. You float around on a boat and you go stop somewhere exotic for like a couple hours and then you're back on the boat. Why don't you just go somewhere? Like drive somewhere and have an actual vacation, or take a train like a normal person. Take a plane. It's better than being on a cruise ship. Why? Because at least when you're on a plane, you know that they're not exploiting foreigners for $2 an hour to be your server. Oh man. We just need to get rid of cruise ships. Children drown on the pools on them because there are no lifeguards. Because of the international waters, crimes go unpunished, and they, like I said, exploit foreigners for cheap labor. Fuck cruise ships. Americans alone toss away 133 billion pounds of food annually. That's 40% of our food supply right in the trash. Stop buying things you're just gonna throw out. Stop buying food wrapped in plastic. Plan your week's meals in advance. Do meal preps. That'll help you stop throwing food into the trash. Compost your scraps. If you don't have a yard, find out if there's a local compost you can use, or even better yet, encourage your city or town to add a compost bin to your weekly garbage pickup. We have them here in Portland. It's awesome. You can put your yard trimmings in there, any food in there that goes to the city to be composted and turned into dirt that we can use later. Get reusable cloth grocery bags and mesh produce bags. You know those little plastic bags they have in supermarkets that you throw like tomatoes and stuff in them? Stop using those. You can buy little mesh ones and reuse those. Your vegetables breathe better in them, they'll last longer, and oh my god, you're using less plastic. Like, there's so many options for consumers to make a difference. And I'm not trying to put the onus only on the consumer, but I just have lived long enough on this planet to know that corporations aren't going to do the right things, but politicians aren't going to do the right thing. Trump has just deregulated like all of the environmental protections that have been put in place over the last 20 years. And I don't think Biden's gonna do anything to reverse that if he happens to win. Like, politicians in America especially just don't give a shit at all, unless it fattens their wallet. Here's another fun fact. Starbucks alone blows through 8,000 paper cups per minute. Per minute. Bring your own fucking mug. It's not that hard. Get a reusable cup for water. Recycling is good. reusing is better, but reducing consumption is how we turn this shit around. And my final point in this video, which is gonna make people probably the most mad, is eat less meat. You don't have to be a vegan. You don't have to go vegan, okay? You don't even have to be a vegetarian. Just don't eat meat every day. Especially beef. If you can cut beef out, that would be amazing. Choose chicken instead. But still, you should just reduce your meat consumption to a couple times a week. And I'm sorry, but bacon isn't an excuse. It's selfish, and it just shows that you think that having a piece of bacon is more important than, I don't know, creating positive change. Like, seriously, you can still have bacon, just have it once a month instead of every time you have breakfast. I get it, it tastes good, but it's a horrible, horrible excuse, okay? The last of our precious rainforests are being burnt down for cattle farming. Why? There's no need for this. We throw away 40% of our food. There's no need for more agricultural industry. We need to better preserve the food that we're already growing. The agriculture industry destroys the biodiversity that gives us life. It not only wastes water, it pollutes it with like runoffs from pesticides. It destroys the topsoil. The EWG estimates that growing livestock alone requires 167 million pounds of pesticides and 17 billion pounds of nitrogen fertilizer each year in the US alone. I couldn't find anything about global statistics, but I think it's pretty telling that these numbers are so staggering in just the United States. It doesn't even factor in China, India, also huge polluters. Canada is also a really bad polluter as well. Our Alberta oil sands is disgusting. Let me put it this way. If we are so smart, if we are so intellectual and involved, then why don't we move towards greener living? I just don't understand. Well, I do understand. It's because we've built a world that revolves around profit and greed, and anytime something pops up that's innovative, it gets squashed by some corporation or politician, some lobbyer. A really good example of that is hemp. Hemp was destroyed by the paper industry, the pulp industry. Hemp is a great alternative for so many things, which is why it's illegal. You know, you got paper, you got fuel. It's the cannabis, the THC and the cannabinoids for medicine. Just look, follow the money, and you see why all of this is an issue. It is the corporations, but we're just as much to blame because we keep going to the supermarkets and buying in excess. And, you know, I see it all the time. Here's a great example, the mushroom section in a supermarket. You have paper brown bags and loose mushrooms, where you can pack your own mushrooms into the bag and go. Or you could grab the pre-cut mushrooms in the styrofoam and saran wrapped containers. And I always see people grabbing the pre-cut containers. Why? It does not take any time at all to just chop up a mushroom. It's just pure laziness. And people so often talk about how you need to go out and vote to make a difference. Well, you should be voting with your wallet too. You should be choosing, like, really wisely what you spend your money on. Because, like, the world's going crazy. 40 million Americans are unemployed right now. 12 million Americans are about to be evicted. And Bezos is on his way to be, the world's first trillionaire? It's just crazy. Stop shopping at Amazon. I think stop giving that guy money. I just don't understand what people's problem is with making greener choices. Go outside, go for a walk. Breathe in some fresh air. Look at the way everything outside interacts. You know, I let weeds grow in my in my lawn. I plant wildflowers. I research native plants to Portland, Oregon, and plant those there because native plants need less water. Wildflowers for the birds and the bees. My hummingbirds, I have so many hummingbird feeders. I have little nests that I put up in my trees to make it a safe space, so it's not just a lot where nature isn't welcome. You know, it's very easy. If you have an apartment, if you have a balcony, get a little flower box out there and put any flowers out there. Turn your concrete jungles into a little bit more of a green space, a friendlier space for nature. Nature does adapt, and we can help. Like, we do have the potential to be good stewards of this planet. But we're so brainwashed by this rugged individualism. You can't even get people to agree on... I don't even know. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you have any suggestions on how we could make greener choices? Beyond what I've already suggested. Oh, here's one. I buy all my books used. You could go to local bookstores instead of like Barnes and Nobles and places like that. Amazon, don't buy them from there. There's a cool app called Thrift Books, which you can buy used books from. That's something you can do. Shop in thrift stores. That's another thing that you can do. You can find really nice, high quality clothes in thrift stores, and they'll last forever instead of using fast fashion like Zara and Forever 21 and Zaful and Fashion Nova. Those are all garbage companies that are horrible for the environment and also horrible to the people that work for them and make those clothes. Like, you're basically supporting slave labor. So yeah, thrift stores, water bottles, reusable bags, compostable shit. I even have compostable saran wrap, which it's not the best saran wrap, but it breaks down at least. Like, there's a million options out there. But also make sure that they're not just using the green as a brand, like the green lifestyle as a brand, because companies often trick people by saying like, this is all made with recycled items, but really they're just talking about the tag that's on the shirt. I'll put a couple links down to 2 episodes of the Patriot Act that talk about cruise ships and also talk about fast fashion in a way that I would never be able to lay out for you. Hassan is amazing. Definitely check those out, because I don't think people are really aware. A lot of people aren't aware. People need to read more. Here's some books that I highly recommend. The World Without Us is phenomenal. Field Notes from a Catastrophe. I cannot speak. That's a really good one. The Myth of Human Supremacy. I cried a lot reading that book. Reefer Madness is a really, really good book that talks about how the marijuana industry was brought down. This is a really cool book. The Wasp That Brainwashed the Caterpillar, which is just for nature nerds that show how ecosystems and biodiversity work, you know, like the wasp brainwashed the caterpillar so he could lay its eggs inside of it. Pretty gross, but that's how nature works. There's lots that you can do as an individual. You cannot always put it off on the corporations, but we definitely should be holding our corporations accountable, and you should be shopping at local mom and pop stores instead of Walmart or Amazon, if at all possible. Thrift stores. Yeah. If more people did this, like, I'm seeing people rally and come together for the Black Lives Matter movement, and I know that there's passion somewhere in us. We just need to focus it on more than one thing at a time. Like, if you think that this pandemic was a bad thing, Climate change is going to be a million times worse. This pandemic is like a test for our society, how well it's set up to be able to handle something like this. Because with climate change, more viruses are going to come. Mass immigration is going to happen as more parts of the earth become inhabitable. You're going to see mass immigration, which already pisses people off. If we can't even allow migrants into our country without it being a partisan issue now, people need to start thinking about this kind of stuff. Thinking about farther into the future than just the next election. And listen to the scientists. At the beginning of my blog, I start with a quote. What's the point of going to school if no one listens to the educated? And I really feel like that resonates a lot with like anything right now. Just seeing how half of America hates Dr. Fauci for no reason, refuses to listen to the CDC, and still thinks climate change is a hoax, and that there's actual flat earthers. Like, I really want to have faith in humanity. I do. But I think we have killed ourselves with our own arrogance. And I don't know if there's any way to come back from this. Let's read some quotes from this. It's so true. I love this quote. This quote from The Myth of Human Supremacy. Why is it so difficult for us to accept that others besides ourselves have rich interior lives? I guess because that would mean our moral universe just got a whole lot more complex. And that's so true. It's so easy to justify doing what we do if we pretend like we're the only thing that matters. And we aren't. Our life depends on the planet. And you could tell me the planet will survive us, and that might be true, but the current ecosystems on this planet won't. Maybe in a million years, after we've destroyed it, something bounces back and life comes back to this planet. But I don't think that's a really good excuse to just keep on keeping on the way that we are. We can be better. We can be better. I bought this off Let Go, this beautiful table, for $20. You can buy beautiful used furniture. Every piece of furniture in my house is either used or a hand-me-down. You know, try painting your own pictures for your walls instead of buying mass-produced art. I could just go on and on. There's a million things that we could do as individuals. And the more of us that do it, the less these corporations make, and the more that they're going to have to change to be able to make money off of us. I think the only true way to vote is with your wallet. So stop spending your money. Stop giving these assholes your money. Save it. You don't need all the things that are in your house. You're filling a void that I think has been created in all of us being wage slaves and cogs in this capitalist machine. Try to just go a week without spending money. Go meal prep. Go shopping on Sunday. Meal prep for the whole week. And don't spend another dime for that week. See if you can do it. Challenge yourself. Just throwing shit out there. Just chatting with you guys now. The planet's beautiful. Go hike. Go camp. Hey, I've built this video up so much in my head for the past couple of weeks. I read all of these books. It put me in such a bad mind space because I just felt so helpless. Like, so few people care. No one will do anything to make a change unless it directly affects them, and I wish there was a way to make people care more. about nature, you know. It's so cool. It's so cute. It's so cool out there. It's so beautiful. Plants are so cool. Read my article. Click on the links. Read those links. Check out the links that are going to be in the bio of this video that do a way better job talking about this than me. I'm not a good speaker. I'm a good writer. So, I'm sorry if this was so shitty. I built it up in my head for weeks and now I feel like I just butchered it, but what can you do? What can you do? Thanks for listening to my rant. I can only hope that I changed some of your guys' minds or made you think about things, and I highly recommend, again, look at the links, watch cool documentaries if you can. Chasing Coral on Netflix is heartbreaking. There's endless information about this, and I advise you all to seek it out, because it's quite alarming how quickly things are changing, and unless we find a way to come together and quit it with this divisiveness that's infected our society, I'm really worried about what I'm going to see in my lifetime, let alone what my nieces and nephews are going to have to deal with. So, just some food for thought. I hope you guys all have a great day.